If there's one thing that we've learned during this pandemic, is that there will be a closer focus on improving productivity and quality across all sectors. It will be at the top of every CEO's to-do list. In fact, here at BizVision, along with improved performance and capability, it's one of our 3 pillars of effective leadership. But let's drill down. How can you be more efficient, effective, and economic if you're running a manufacturing plant? Okay, you want to transform your business. Take steps to make it run more smoothly, increase stability, and make your customers happier. But how? Well, now it's easier. Ease is the innovative mobile platform that helps manufacturers simplify how they administer, conduct, and respond to plant floor audits and processes. So come with me to hopefully sunny California and meet the CEO of Ease, Eric Stoop. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Malcolm. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to see you because this is an exciting product that you've got. So before we dive deeper into it, can you please give us a short overview on what Ease is and what it does?
Sure. So Ease has been around for a while and is mostly focused on the plant floor and plant floor process, whether it's work instructions or labor standards or audit. And 4 or 5 years ago, we shifted our focus to really focus on the plant floor audits and both 5S, health and safety, and then more specifically layered process audits, which are a high frequency audit that's carried out on the plant floor over and over again. But mostly it's really about the people. So it's an audit that people are talking to people and understanding that people are doing the right things on the plant floor. And then that transforms, because it's done down on the plant floor and in such high frequency, transforms into a lot of real-time data about what's happening on the plant floor. So you might hear some factories, they talk about the shadow factory of what's the plant floor truth, what's actually happening on the plant floor versus what the management thinks is happening on the plant floor. Well, what we do and what we provide really gives that visibility into what's actually happening on the plant floor, whether that's good or whether that's bad.
Excellent, yes, because as you say, some CEOs think things are happening and they're not.
That's right.
Right. So how is Ease helping businesses during the COVID-19 crisis?
Yeah, so we have a large presence in the automotive supply chain as well as aerospace, and interestingly, most of our focus has been around these health and safety and 5S and this layer process audits. And as you enter sort of the COVID world and you have factories going offline and coming back online, you have a lot of workplace, kind of a different perspective on workplace safety. And we've been really kind of positioned really well to help with that situation. So we have lots of customers that are doing what we would, we kind of say COVID audits around, whether it can be as simple as making sure that the hand sanitizer dispensers are full, doing pre-shift checks on temperature or otherwise, and then the ability to capture that data and roll it up and look for issues or look for problems or even generate notifications if there's a hand sanitizer is out on line 6. That can generate a notification to maintenance or whatever, and then they can get out there and resolve it. So that ability has, I think, given a lot of security and comfort in the workplace, both to the employees and the management, that I can create this very transparent view and of what's going on in this sort of COVID world. So.
I can see how important that is, because at the moment people are running around like scared chickens, as we call them over here, and trying to whack-a-mole. I think these are the Okay. Following your acquisition of Ease, why did you decide to focus on plant floor audits? What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so historically, Ease has been a very people-oriented plant floor orientation. Aston Martin's been a customer for a long time, and we focus a lot on providing the worker exactly what he needs to know on the plant floor. And so as we, 5-6 years ago when we acquired Ease, we saw this opportunity to keep focused on the plant floor, but really around audits and that, the ability to use a mobile device down on the plant floor and see what's going on. And I think, at the outset, we probably thought we would go back and do things like, work instructions and labor standards as well. But the needs around these audits and the ability to do them on the plant floor without paper and pencil, without a clipboard, and schedule them, hold people accountable, provide really good data integrity, really kind of drew us into that place of the market. So I'd like to say we strategically figured out that this is the place we wanted to be, but sometimes you try and the market sort of pulls you into a great place, and so we've not really looked back since then. So
excellent, yeah. Hey, look is important, isn't it?
Yes.
Was it hard to bring your idea to reality? For instance, every plant manager I've met, and I've chaired a lot of manufacturing conferences, everyone I've met likes to think that they run things differently, and of course there are different compliances and legislations in different countries. Your Gantt chart must have been huge. How did you achieve it?
Well, I mean, historically, I'm not a manufacturing guy. My background is more in fintech software, and when I came on board here, I'm learning that manufacturing, exactly what you said, is plant managers think that their problems are not like anyone else's problems. Like, I get that works for that site, but we're different here. And I think we really endeavored to build a platform that would be flexible, that I could use, and not dictate how it's used, and provide that flexibility. At the same time, you have and this is where we get into where we sell. We sell at a maturity level in manufacturing, where people are really looking to move to the next level of stability. And those guys understand that having guardrails, tighter guardrails, is really important. So the guardrails and stability is kind of a universal across manufacturing. And so we really latched on to that. A part of it is like, hey, we can provide you that. We don't know what stability means to you, but we can give you the tools to really kind of keep things blocked down and move them to sort of the next level of maturity.
Let's just stick with a focus on productivity for the moment. A fairly all-embracing word with different meanings for each business. But let's take a typical ease customer. Choose a business type, please, and take me through the process of how ease will produce measurable results.
Sure. So, we do a lot of automotive supply chain work, and so we cover a lot of the very large automotive suppliers. And there's a couple of things. So we typically find that these customers are doing these types of audits on a clipboard and paper, and that paper then is taken and put onto an inbox somewhere, and that inbox, then somebody takes it and then they transpose it and put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and somewhere down the line, it gets up onto a presentation somewhere or on a report. And so as we enter, we find that customers usually know what they need to do on the plant floor. They have the questions. They're just not doing it well. And so when we come in, we typically get people up and running. We run a pilot program for 4 weeks, and surprisingly, in a manufacturing environment, 4 weeks we're up and running and doing audits on phones and on tablets. And so within 2 weeks, they're looking at the results of maybe on a particular work center in the plant floor, and this is triggering once I get the employee roster in it, and I get my questions and my question documents, or what we call check sheets, into the product. It's a very straightforward import process. I can schedule an audit, so I can schedule, and so the auditor will. And these are not full-time auditors. Keep in mind, these are basically people with other jobs. I need to walk down onto Work Center 23, and I need to ask some questions of the people. It's a 10 or 15-minute process, but he gets a notification. He's able to complete the audit. He's able to take visual evidence. So if the question says take a picture of the situation or the condition of the work center, he can do all that, and he's done in 10 or 15 minutes. He hits submit, and now upwards into the organization, I can see that audit was completed on time. I can see that if I need to, there's visual evidence from whether it's compliant or non-compliant, and he's done with that for the day. And now, if you layer that across the whole site, I've got, in some cases, hundreds and hundreds of audits taking place every week, and that data then rolls up to management, whether it's the plant manager or even a business unit, to be able to see across. Let's say another great. So Eaton Aerospace is a great customer of ours, and they have all around the globe, multiple sites producing the same product. The ability for them to see that the same questions and the same audits are being done on those 20 or 30 sites, rolling up to the same data. I have the ability to see in real time what's going on across this. In a small business, or somebody who's got one or two sites, typically the owner or the owner operator is walking the plant floor, and you can see that. When a large corporate or large enterprise environment, you can't do that. You can't get that real time visual, the owner kind of perspective on it. And so we kind of give that visibility that people, manufacturing guys get really excited about being able to see that visibility down on the plant floor.
Yeah, I see that. But even the smaller business owner, he's got other things, or she's got other things.
For sure, yeah, for sure. We do a lot of work in single sites, multi sites, and because and as you add layers, right? So, that's why I say we talk about the maturity model. Even a small business can be very mature in their, what they're trying to accomplish on the manufacturing floor. And then you add in, I've got health and safety, I've got workplace compliance issues, I've got coverage of how many times do I need to inspect that the fire extinguishers are, I've got all these different rules for just around health and safety. Then if I want to layer in 5S, processes, and how am I going to look at workplace cleanliness, and how the workspace is organized, and efficiencies, then I can layer in layered process audits. Then I layer in COVID audits.
Yeah.
Well, for the small business, that's a lot of stuff to go on if you want to cover it. And most people are like, well, I can't get it all. I can't get it all. So we try to let them get it all.
I think it's brilliant, because obviously you taking that worry away from them, but also taking away that time thing so they can get on with growing the business.
Yeah.
As manufacturers continue on the maturity curve, is ease adaptable for use by every plant or manufacturer?
Yeah, I mean, we do find there are cases where we're just too early in their plant, where they're still documenting their process, or they're still sort of working out what how some of these programs. Almost every probably every plant has health and safety going on there. That's always always first. So we get health and safety going. And we can accomplish that. We're a more sophisticated system in that we have all this heavy scheduling and accountability and availability to capture evidence and process around non-conformances and stuff. But that's the place to start, right? So if I always have health and safety issues on my plant floor, at least from a monitoring point of view. And so the ability to start there and then move on to say 5S, and getting some 5S capabilities that coverage there. And then as I get even more mature, then I can start looking at process audits and verifying that process is being completed properly by the people. So that's exactly sort of how the maturity curve works. Yeah.
Okay, let's assume I'm the MD of a manufacturing plant. I'm sold. I'm ready to ease into improving auditing. Take me through the process of implementing ease to the workflow.
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, so most of the time there's either whether it's a quality manager or a head of operations that has got a lot of documentation around what's supposed to happen on the plant floor. Those are usually in a Word doc or in an Excel spreadsheet. And so when we first interact with let's say an MD, or a plant floor operations manager, they're coming to us with, hey, I've got all these documents. I've got all these questions. Some are new, some are old. We work with them on the first session. We start out with a first session and we import that into the system. And then that creates this question library. So now I have questions around maybe health and safety, and I've got questions that are 5S. I can tag those questions to be what they're oriented around. They might be COVID questions. They might be, you get the idea.
Yeah.
So now then we would help them create their first few audit documents, which would be comprised of these different questions. And in some cases, we don't actually put the questions in. We just say, grab 3 health and safety questions, or randomly grab 3 5S questions. Then the next step is we get them to import sort of an employee roster, which would have their emails, and those employees would either download the app onto their phone, or they might use a shared device on the plant floor, like a tablet or or any sort of shared device that either a browser or an Android or iOS device. And we start literally first session, we're scheduling audits for them to start. And generally, depending on the size of the plant, they'll start with one area. They might start with a problem area, perhaps. And that schedule then notifies those the other operators that, hey, I've got to do a 12-minute or 15-minute audit this morning. They get a notification on their phone or on the device, and they're down there walking. Interestingly, if they're late or if they miss it, then the manager can get notifications that they're late or they're missing it. And when those audits are completed, it starts to create this accumulation of data. So then that starts the first week. The second week is usually around sort of refining that process. The third and fourth week is really looking at the data, the results of the audit program that's taking place. So by the end of the fourth week, they're actually up and running on what we would, sort of a pilot program and running on it. Post that pilot, if they were to go to a full implementation, then you're really just adding the different work centers. You're creating a landscape of the plant on the product. So you might have different areas with different stations within the work centers. You might have different lines that are oriented towards a particular product, and that then ends up, as you see, you just keep building layers and layers and layers, and by 4 weeks, and then maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, they're pretty well fully running an audit program, and now they're just in a refinement stage and then a data collection or data analysis stage.
Yeah, I bet there's many times that you discover things for that MD or that company that they never thought about. Sometimes finding out what they didn't know that they need to know.
Absolutely. I mean, we think one of the key perspectives that I love about what we do is that if you think about what happens on in a manufacturing environment, there's a lot of like inspection, post-production inspection. I visually inspect the product. Does it look right? I do sampling, and if you think about that, that's after the fact. It's built, right? So if there's mistakes, if it's wrong, well, I've got 1,000 units or whatever, and I got to it's either scrap or it's waste, it's lost. What we do really is most of our customers, they don't use our system to look at product. They use the system to look at people. So you have a plant manager that walks down with their phone and they says, okay, I don't, even a plant manager may not even understand what's happening at that station. I've got 12 questions I need to ask. And it starts a conversation. And the plant manager that says, hey, is he installing the bolts in the 1342 order? And he's like, you know what? He's not. This is it's a fail. And he's like, hey, you're supposed to install it in a 1342 order. And the operator says, well, it's faster if I go to the 1234 order. He's like, well, now he can see the why. Well, the why is if you don't install it, the seal doesn't attach properly, and we have warranty issues when you don't install the bolts in the correct order. And the operator says, oh, I didn't know that. I thought I was being more efficient. And now I've had a conversation, and instead of having, 10,000 units completed that way and finding out later and through warranty claims, I've now not only trained the operator, I've got a plant manager that's had a great conversation with a low level, line, operator. The operator, while it says, wow, plant manager cares about what I'm doing. And plant managers, is able to then kind of, on the spot sort of train and correct. And now I've saved, the rest of his work is going to come across correctly, right? So we call that sort of proactive approach to quality and people management versus a reactive, which is we inspect it after the fact.
I can see so many financial advantages. When you were talking there, it called to mind one interview I'd done with a company that makes automotive seats. And they supply obviously to an automotive manufacturer who does an inspection. If one's wrong, they send the whole lot back.
Yes. Yeah. They won't even look at the others.
That's a big loss. So what do you think will be the biggest challenge to increasing uptake and usage of ease around the world? How do you plan to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're finding a lot. We've typically found ourselves in automotive just because of the automotive supply chain is very tight margins and it's
Mm,
more challenging. We now find ourselves in these in a lot of organizations that are non-automotive that are really about top tier quality, making sure that they're at the very top of their game.
yeah,
And these could be bigger brand or brands that really care. They're not they're less worried about the nickels and dimes or pennies
mm,
of their margins. They're more worried about maintaining their brand equity. And so I think as we being able to position ourselves to meet those needs and either through through audit or the surroundings of audit, that's going to be where we go, and doing more and more on the plant floor. Plant floor is typically not seen a lot of technology spend on the plant floor, meaning, there's not a lot of devices. There's people down there. And so we're seeing that change more with the introduction of mobile devices. And so if we're down there, and I tell the guys, like, hey, anything that's happening on the plant floor, we want to be there and try to help, facilitate, whatever that's happening on the plant floor. Now, I
mm,
say that in manufacturing, we're actually ending up, having some really interesting conversations in other businesses, even like around education and other things where that's in sort of this COVID world of how do I, people that typically don't audit, we think about like a trade school where I can't do remote learning in a trade school, right? I've got to do hands-on. I've got to teach them welding.
yeah,
Well, those people have not had a culture of audits, and so we're finding interest there. And I think as we enter sort of, I'm assuming there's a post-COVID world, people are still going to be very, very top of mind of, sanitation and shared use of devices. Like if I think of a welding shield, if I'm teaching welding, well, I've had all this shared personal protective equipment in my school. Well, I can't really do that anymore, right? Like, I need to either have a cleaning program for those, or I need to have my students have their own, and they've not had that problem before. So I think hopefully we'll be able to sort of assist with some of those challenges.
exciting. How do you expect industry needs to evolve this next year or so? And what will be the main driver behind that?
Well, I think what we're seeing with our customers, and we have a very unique insight. We see, really around the globe, the number of audits that are completed, and it really correlates to production and how many people are there. And so you see these strategies of some of these organizations where they decide to go, maybe they were running one shift. Now they've run to two shifts and they're half staff on the two shifts. Or if they had two shifts, they're going to three shifts,
Mm,
and they're layering their people, and then they're creating gaps between the shifts, whereas they typically didn't. They had a changeover process, and the shift is changing and the people are crossing, and now we're trying to create a gap just to prevent, because if you think about any, for a single site, for a plant manager, his risk is if I get an infection, or if I get a COVID infection, I have to shut the plant on site. I got to
mm,
shut my plant down. I got to clean it. I mean, and losing a week of productivity. So I'm going to do everything I can to prevent that. And a lot of it is perspective of the employees. I want to come and know that precautions are being taken. That because this is what we have is so infectious. One case can really create a problem. So I think that challenge of how do we sort through the people issue. You layer, I think, in the other person, my privilege is it's very challenging because you have some people take it very seriously, and some people, it's not so big, not that big a deal. Let's just like face it. Well, how do I how do I take care of the person who takes it very seriously? And they've got this guy who's not really going to be as
mm.
compliant, and maybe he's not as strict about putting his mask on. I think that's going to be a real challenge in the workplace, whether that's an office or for us, or whether that's a plant floor.
Yeah, yeah. I'm totally with you. The work I've done in America in the past, people say, don't sell to the guy on the dock because he's not interested in going through the company processes and everything. It's the CEO
Right.
that's worried about the profitability and the sustainability of the business. Yep. So
Yeah.
let's look at the purpose of your business? Put aside making money, which is what we should all be about. What do you see as the true purpose, or the older word mission, of ease? And how will you know when you're achieving your purpose?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we are about performance, and about driving performance, and we talk a lot about quality, but not quality in the strict sense of manufacturing quality, but quality really across the board. And if you think about quality, that drives profitability, that drives culture, that drives pride in the workplace. And so we really, kind of the core, and personally for me, the benefit I get is building that plant floor culture, the employee culture. So having the operator really feel like the CEO or the plant manager or the plant MD knows and cares about what that operator is doing. And so we've really been about people performing at their very best. Most operators down on that plant floor, they want to do really well. They want to create a good product. I mean, I've been in so many plant floors, and those guys are so full of pride of what they do. They could be doing the simplest function, but they know that this is a building process and going up. Connecting that person with a upper layer management, and creating that conversation has such a transformative effect on the culture within that plant. People are happier, at work, people performing better. Because I'm sure as you know, it's not all about compensation, right? It's not all about how much do I get paid for it. I have a pride of ownership, particularly in manufacturing, about what I'm producing. So I think our mission is really to build that culture of quality, that culture of people on a plant floor, and transform those businesses from being, the perspective of the operator just installing the widget over and over again, to an operator that actually knows that his plant manager cares, that he comes down and visits every week, and I know that what I'm doing has some meaning and is benefiting the company.
I totally take the idea of getting the people involved as well. I was filming not too long ago at Draeger, which is a massive German operation, and Draeger Safety there. And at every corner of the chain, every corner of the workflow, there were little areas where the workers could look at the KPIs, could look at what was happening, so they were involved. And I can see most clearly how ease would really help and make that a lot easier to do. So where do you see ease in 5 years' time? What's your vision for the business? Are there extension possibilities such as logistics businesses or others?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I think for us, again, kind of not to echo back what I'm saying, I've always just felt like, look, if we want to be on the plant floor, and if you think of things like the Toyota production system, and there's a lot of these Kaizen and lean perspectives that are in some ways anti-technology on the plant floor, because they want people belly to belly, and talking. And now you enter a phase where mobile devices allow you to still be belly to belly and talking. I think that there's a path where TPS and some of these other very high maturity level organizations start thinking, hey, you know what, mobile devices can capture information in a way that maybe in the way that IIoT is around devices and equipment, but ease ends up being about the people and capturing the data from the people. How are my people doing on the plant floor? So if I'm covering the plant floor, the dream is that I have all the eyeballs, or ease has all the eyeballs on the plant floor. And in many ways, we are the platform for within the plant and within sister plants and within a business unit or with an organization, where I can see across the board what my people are doing and how my people are performing, how they're feeling, with how connected they are to the organization.
Eric Stoop of Ease, thank you for such a revealing interview. I love your passion and commitment. Thank you.
It's been really a pleasure here. I've enjoyed it a lot.